Isagenix health system or ketogenic? They both work. Which one is better? Full disclosure, I am a Isagenix distributor, and I have been for 14 years. I have also done both. I have went through the complete Isagenix system, obviously, but also I have been ketogenic for quite some time. Even though I'm not full ketogenic now, I have merged into a blend of Isagenix, keto, and the plant paradox diet with intermittent fasting, and I'll walk you through that also. The real truth is both of these systems are very similar in the fact that they affect the body in precisely the exact same science. One is different than the other and would work depending on which you think would be right for you. And that's really the purpose of this video, is just to give you enough tools and some ideas and hopefully answer some of the questions that you might have had if you're considering one of these two. Many people that first start out wanting to get better health, they look at losing weight first. Obviously, weight loss is a huge industry today. And I think as a result of that, there are also some abuses. I would mention, regardless of whatever you attempt to do to lose weight, that you don't make weight loss your primary goal. You want to make building a healthy lifestyle your primary goal. When you get into a lifestyle, then it becomes habit. Then you can maintain your weight and your health for long periods of time. One of the biggest benefits out of both of these lifestyles, if you will, because both Isagenix and the keto is a lifestyle, is more energy. I mean, we all want more energy. Because of the way food is manufactured and have been manufactured really since after World War II, when all these soldiers came home, and for the first time in history, women started to work outside the home. And the food industry had to completely change to be able to put food on the table quickly. And as a result of that, there's been, in my opinion, some unhealthy farming practices, processing practices, all to get that food to the table as quickly as possible. And as a result, the natural nutrition that's in food, a lot of it's been stripped out. When you see cereal boxes, especially, when you see the term vitamin fortified, that means that they have stripped the complete vitamins out, and they've had to shove, oftentimes, synthetic vitamins in. Regardless of the system you use, Isagenix has absolutely been formulated. I don't like using the word process. Formulation is a better example. And then in ketogenic, you want to stick to all natural, whole foods. You don't want processed stuff in either one of these diets, because Isagenix, while it's a meal replacement program, it only generally replaces 2 meals a day. You're responsible for that third meal if, in fact, you do have 3 meals. Ketogenic, obviously, there's no system out there to where you're getting keto meals, although I think there are some vendors that are starting to crop up that makes it easier to where all the meals ketogenic formulated are right in front of you. That makes it easier, and maybe you're that type of person that's what you think you need. No doubt, America has an obesity/excess weight epidemic. You look at the history of obesity in our country, it's approaching 40% nationwide. Obesity or excess weight, I don't even like using the term obesity because it's offensive to a lot of people. So you'll hear me refer to excess weight way more than you'll hear me refer to obesity. Excess weight is highly correlated. Heart disease, which is the number one killer in America, I think over 600,000 deaths a year. Cancer, second leading cause of death in our country, also close to 600,000 deaths a year. Diabetes. Diabetes is one of the leading causes of amputations, blindness, and diabetes directly leads to heart disease. I was told once when I was starting to understand this industry that the number one symptom of heart disease, think about it. What do you think that it is? Most people, when I do my public seminars and ask that question, and they'll raise their hand, and I always get the first symptom of heart disease. Well, Mike, is it a shortness of breath, like when you go upstairs? Is it tiredness? Is it my blood pressure is going up? Well, all those are symptoms that you need to pay attention to. The number one symptom of heart disease, and it happens 50% of the time, death by heart attack. You do not want that symptom showing up first in your case. Excess weight it ought to be like alarming to you. And man, we weren't made to pack on an extra 30, 40, 50 pounds. I have helped 11 women lose over 100 pounds. 100 extra pounds, you're putting massive pressure on that heart. I applaud you if you're looking at in the comparison of these two diet lifestyles. Let me share my story. It was in 2006, on the heels of my dad dying several years earlier, that I had packed on a bunch of extra weight. I was at 254 pounds, 6'5". Today, just to give you a comparison, I am 190 pounds. So since that day, I have lost 64 pounds, and I have kept it off for 14 years. 2006, one of my clients, I was practicing as a CPA investment advisor at the time. She had just joined Isagenix, and she just shared it with me, and I was looking for answers. After getting some of my questions answered, I started the Isagenix program. I was amazed at the results I had. Over a short period of time, I dropped 50 pounds. My energy level shot through the roof, and I couldn't believe how good I felt. I hadn't felt that good in years, and I was a college Division I basketball player. I stayed on Isagenix. I fell in love with the sport of triathlon, Ironman triathlon. I'm doing my first only 14 months after first starting Isagenix. I started Isagenix in February 2006. I did my first Ironman April 15, 2007, Ironman Arizona. I have done 15 full-distance triathlons, including my last was a trip to the World Championship in Kona, Hawaii, the Hawaii Ironman. It's the pinnacle of all races for an Ironman triathlete, and I had the privilege of racing there. And yet, leading up to that race, in 2015, it was October 2015, I started to gain weight, and I didn't know why. I was training 15 to 22 hours a week. That's a lot of exercise. And I was packing on the heaviest I'd ever been for any triathlon. I raced that race at 198 pounds. Most of all the other races, the other 14, I was around 188 to 186, which is approximately what my weight is now. While I was over in Hawaii training for 2 months prior to that race, I knew I was packing on the extra weight and I couldn't get rid of it. So I knew something was up. I had tried and I blitzed the Isagenix program and it didn't work anymore. And that was, for being an Isagenix distributor, I didn't have a clue why. Fast forward, December 2016, I had jumped to 200 pounds. I didn't race any at all in 2016. I took from October 2015 off all the way to, I was going to start training for another triathlon in November of 2017. I went on the Isagenix program that I had done many, many times before in the month of December of 2016. I even did 2 60-hour fast, cleansing fasting. And I knew it wasn't working because my clothes still fit kind of heavy and my energy level was still not good. I got on the scales for the first time in like 30 days on January 1st, 2017. I lost 1 pound, and I should have lost about 10 or 12 pounds based on my calorie in versus out, because I was anal and checking everything like a hawk. So I knew something was up. Well, I got checked out. The doc did an A1C test. This was in late January 2017, and she said, "You're probably a pre-diabetic." I go, "A pre-diabetic? What is that?" I didn't even know what diabetes was. And she kind of explained it to me and went right over my head. And I said, "Well, how do I get rid of it?" And she says, "If you don't eat right and exercise more, you'll be back here and I'll be prescribing insulin for you." And I left her office pissed because I ate good. I had a good, healthy, clean diet. I was eating a ton of carbohydrates, though, because as an endurance athlete, that's what I was always taught to consume. Massive amounts of carbohydrates, sugary ones, because it was quick energy. As I was, maybe did a 5 or 6 hour bike ride and an hour run, I needed those carbs. Well, anyway, I then got turned on to a ketogenic diet through this process, and on April 1st, 2017, I started full-blown keto. I went cold turkey right into it. I did a little research. I remember going to the refrigerator and looking at my fridge. Carb, 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 carb. Went to the pantry, opened it up. Carb, 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 carb. I didn't understand that I was consuming about 250 grams a day of carbohydrates, and on keto, you had to go to 20 grams a day. That's a 90% decrease in carbohydrates. But I was bound and determined. I had amazing results on keto. I got into ketosis pretty fast, and I dropped about 22 pounds on keto. And I was still consuming some of the Isagenix product only because it's good. It's good stuff. And I just mixed it with keto. And I had great results with keto. And yet on keto, I also still had major food cravings at night. And I did solve that eventually. Well, anyway, I stayed full keto until the winter of last year, 2019. And then I went on an all plant-based diet. I was going to try that because I had never done that before. I didn't have really great results going all plant-based. And then in March this year of COVID, 2020, I got turned on to Dr. Gundry's The Plant Paradox. And for the first time, I had a new key in this arsenal for me that I had never considered, and that is lectin protein. I mean, the lectin everyone knows about is gluten, but there are all kinds of lectin. And according to Dr. Gundry, when I got rid of all these lectin proteins and I started to populate my gut with the good, he calls them gut bugs, what I was amazed at is, number one, I didn't have to count carbs anymore. And I didn't need to be strict low carb, high fat on keto. And I was amazed I was able to maintain my weight because I hadn't gained much weight on keto, obviously, but I never had to count anymore. I didn't have to check my fingers for ketosis, and I could now start eating a lot more carbohydrates like beans, resistant starches that I hadn't had in years. And I could go back to every offering that Isagenix had. It just made a perfect thing for me. So I went from Isagenix, then I went strict keto using a little ISA, and then I went plant, and then now I'm to the point where I'm on the Isagenix program, plus I just eliminate all lectin proteins from my diet, and I intermittent fast. I use a 16-8 plan, where 16 hours a day I fast, 16 to 18, and then I eat in a 6 to 8 hour window. Usually I'll eat at noon to 2 p.m., somewhere in there, my first meal. Then I'll eat again about 5 p.m., then I snack to get all what I need up until about 8 p.m., and then I start fasting again. I am so fat adapted that I get into ketosis every day, even on the Isagenix program. So let's talk about Isagenix for a minute. What is it? Isagenix is a $1 billion health and wellness company worldwide. We're all over the world now. How it basically works, it's a meal replacement program when you use their systems. Replace 2 meals a day. That's your macro consumption. Plus, you have your micro consumption in the form of vitamins and minerals. They also have some other supplements, all natural based. And we do a intermittent fasting / cleanse protocol. And we've done that since March 2002. You go do Google Analytics and type in intermittent fasting, and you'll see it's only taken off in the last few years. The searches prior to a few years ago was flatline. And then when it got popular, the searches, that's when keto took off. Isagenix has been doing intermittent fasting for 18 years with cleansing. Cleansing meaning we are constantly cleansing environmental toxins out of our body so that you can get in a better state of fat burning. Okay, let's go here. It's a $1 billion company. It is a network marketing company, and yet the vast majority of people in Isagenix are just pure customers that don't embark in any way, shape, or form in the network marketing thing. 80% plus are just customers of Isagenix. It was formed by two icons in network marketing, plus one of the most prolific and most compensated food formulator in the world, John Anderson. John Anderson's belief was no compromise. John Anderson formulated for over 600 companies. He's got 2,500 U.S. patents, and they never let John make what he wanted. And he started Isagenix so that all of his formulations were as natural as you could get, as if it was a plant. The cornerstone product is the shake. Let's cut away right now, and I'll show you how quick and easy it is to make a meal in Isagenix. I'm going to make a quick, our whole blend isolene shake. This is our whipped mocha latte. I've already put some crushed ice and about less than a cup of water because I like it thick. Just takes 2 scoops of shake powder. 1, 2. Always put the lid on. Shake it up. The magic bullet out here. Blend it up. Here, get thick. It's already chopped up all that ice. Ooh, that's thick. That's a complete meal. 240 calories. I love that shake. Couple other things. We have a product that supports telomere health. Telomeres are linked to aging. We're the only company in the world that has the efficacy in a product that supports telomere health. That's Isagenix. And as to give you some sense of the natural purity of their product, our whey protein that's in our shake is only from grass-fed beef that the cows have not been shot with antibiotics or steroids. John Anderson has a flash treatment filter process that doesn't strip out the digestive enzymes that are needed in that whey protein to break the amino acids down for absorption. Most companies put their whey protein through a high heat pasteurization process of cows that eat government subsidized corn, that they get sick, they have to be then shot with antibiotics and steroids. Whatever that cow eats is going inside of you. If that cow from the whey protein you're eating is not grass-fed and it's fed corn, then that cow has been shot with antibiotics and steroids, and they go right inside of you. Only 2% of the whey protein in the world is formulated our way. 2%. That's a clue. Plus, when you formulate our shake, the digestive enzymes become live. It's live food, just like it came out of the cow. Most people who are lactose intolerant do really well on our shakes. They don't have to take the lactate tablets. They don't have the massive gas. I would say 99% of the people that I have helped that had lactose intolerance issues don't seem to have that with Isagenix. Plus, as an example of the quality, you've probably had a fish oil, an omega-3 fatty acid. Most fish oils are from fish in Pacific warm waters. Our fish is from the waters of northern Norway, where the water temperature, I understand, is under 32 degrees Fahrenheit. If you put our omega in a freezer with maybe another brand of omega and pull them out after they're frozen, the omega from fish of warm waters, it's hard as a rock, meaning there's impurities. Because our fish comes from water below freezing, ours is soft because of the purity. Isagenix has systems complete systems based on your needs, with complete instructions to follow. Do this, do this, do this. Because it's meal replacement, generally 2 meals a day, we also have hundreds and hundreds of recipes for that non-Isagenix meal. We also have, I think, over 80 or 90 individual products that you can just mix and match and buy what you need. You have your own online superfood store. Everyone gets the products at wholesale, and there's no membership fee to join. There used to be, and Isagenix, to their credit, got rid of that. We also have micronutrients in the form of vitamins and minerals, and then have the shake, which is the macro nutrients. And like I said, it's meal replacement. We do something that only companies started to do to copy us, and that's intermittent fasting. Once a week, generally, on the program, you go through a cleansing process to where you don't eat for one full day, except you're putting in a nutrient-based product that's lower carb, obviously, and it helps the body rid itself of environmental toxins, freeing up that fat cell so that it can burn. Most of our new people probably do not get into the state of ketosis, not like a ketogenic fat-adapted person would, until they do a full 2-day fast, a 60-hour cleanse fast. In my experience, people that do that, when they get into that second day, they do get in that state of ketosis where the brain is feeding ketones, and you're in fat-burning state then. And that's where people get the biggest results of feeling energetic, of losing weight. we never starve the body. On a keto plan, there's, through that intermittent fasting where you're schooled not to eat anything. Isagenix, even in the state of fasting, we're putting some nutrients in your body. So we never starve it from that aspect. Isagenix also provides, because it's a network marketing company, to join, you have a sponsor. And that person is generally your one-on-one help to make sure that you maximize the use of the product. Plus, we have group help, individual to group help. We have what's called the IsaBody Challenge. It's a 16-week program. You take your before picture, 16 weeks. You have a minimum amount of product purchases, and then after 16 weeks, you submit your after photos, and you earn a $200 coupon for food. You can do that 3 times a year. That's $600 a year in free food. Just going through that IsaBody program to get group help. And that's what this shirt is. That's the IsaBody Strong shirt. It was one of my gifts for completing that 16-week challenge. The other beautiful thing about Isagenix is because it's a network marketing company, you can share your results with other people. Once, like when I first joined, I said, there's no way I'll be a network marketer, ever. And yet, after that short period of time of dropping 50 pounds, everybody noticed. Everybody said to me, what are you doing? Exactly what my sponsor said would happen. And I would say, it's this ISA stuff. And they go, well, I want to do it. And I go, okay, give me your credit card number. Do you want chocolate or vanilla? That's basically all I did. I entered their data. Their box came in the mail, and they started having results. And then all of a sudden one day in the mail, this little debit card showed up. And I call out my sponsor. I go, what's this? And she goes, oh, you earned X number of dollars. I think my first payment was $100. I go, I earned $100 for helping that person? Yeah. So Isagenix does offer a thank you bonus. That's what I kind of call it, for just sharing your results for others. And then some people, like after for like a year or so, on just sharing loosely with others, then I, in 2010, embarked on doing Isagenix more full time. And last year, a year ago, I was recognized as the 297th millionaire. That means a cumulative of earnings. And down below, I have a link to the disclaimer about our earnings, because being a millionaire in Isagenix, it's not typical results. And now we have over 330 millionaires. The other thing Isagenix cost is generally per meal is anywhere from $3 to $7. And you look at the national average of cost per meal of meals eaten inside and outside the home, it's about $7. So the Isagenix meal replacement program, even at the $7 level, that's where you're getting all these different micro and macronutrients to help, won't raise your food budget. If your food budget is here, a lot of people say, oh, man, I can't spend more. Well, you're not, because you're removing some meals and then you're replacing it with Isagenix, get you right back to the same level. Some cons of Isagenix. The thing that I have noticed is people seem to be overwhelmed. They get this program guide, they got all these different products, and they're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? This is where that group support comes in. A lot of people don't want that. They just said, tell me what to do, I want to do it. There is a period of time you got to get in a habit of using the products. So that can be a con, but any change is you're going to have that. Plus, if you order from like me or any other distributor that's not in your general location, maybe you're in a small city somewhere that there's no other Isagenix users there, you could be in a situation where you don't have a live one-on-one person to help you. If that was important to you, that's a con. The only way to overround that is we do the best we can, do that one-on-one support from your sponsor, or you get in these groups. I have a group where you can post on Facebook your questions. Isagenix has a huge group. You can go in and type in a question. I've seen questions getting answered, 800 comments. So you do get that. And as I said below, your disclaimers. Let's go into keto for just a moment. Ketogenic. Keto gets its name from the term ketosis. I'm not going to get too sciencey on you, but I got to give you a little bit. Ketosis is the end result of going on a keto diet. That's what you're after. What ketosis is where your brain is then fed ketones as fuel. This brain, this 3-pound unit, needs 600 calories a day. It can only have glucose, which is carbohydrates basically, or ketones. It can't eat fat, it can't eat protein. It can only have glucose or ketone bodies. Most people that are non-ketogenic, but never been in the state of ketosis, that brain needs 600 calories a day. What keto does is it gets your body in a state where it has removed most of your stored glucose. It's called glycogen. That's mostly in your liver. And the body then, the brain says, hey, I'm running low of fuel. And it's going to send some major hunger pain at you because it wants its glucose. That's what it's schooled. Because your body hasn't built up the tolerance to burn fat. But eventually in this first phase in of ketogenic, that body will then have to start burning fat. When it's burning fat, it's burning triglycerides. Triglycerides, when they burn, the offshoot of that, ketones. So your brain gets this ketones. So when you get in that state of ketosis, your brain is happy camper. Your hunger goes away, generally goes away. And then you get in this massive state of fat burning. So that's the end result of going on a keto diet. But you have to work your way in there. The human body is designed to be in ketosis. You look at how man has evolved. Man, prior to the agricultural revolution about 10,000 years ago, it didn't have a rich supply of carbohydrates. It was only when we could start growing our carbohydrates that man quit being nomads and started cities, because they could grow wheat and corn and apples and all that stuff and have a supply of food. But prior to that, almost everybody, like the paleo day, the caveman diet, was keto, because these nomads would go around, slaughter an animal or get what they could eat, and then they wouldn't eat for 2 or 3 weeks again. One of the things man has over all other human creatures is endurance. And man could run down an animal for days, because animals don't have endurance. And because that man is in this slow, steady state of chasing this animal, that animal finally just gets tired and drops over. And then man would slaughter that animal, eat, drag the meat back to the camp, and the tribe would eat, and it'd start all over again. And meat is protein and fat. There's 0 carbohydrates in animal meat, protein. The beautiful thing about being on a keto diet is predictable. The lower the amount of carbs you put in your body, the more predictable your diet. Let that sink in. You want to have a predictable diet where you absolutely have to lose weight. Keto is the way to do it, to be predictable. After you go through this first phase, and that first phase of keto is getting fat adapted, meaning your body is building up all these enzymes to be able to burn fat. For most people that are non-athletes, it takes about 30 days to get your body in that state of ketosis, as I described. For an athlete, because they're constantly burning a lot of fuel, they can get into ketosis usually before a week. When I first started to do this, I was training for an Ironman that I raced in November of 2017. I got into ketosis day 2 after going low carb, high fat. It takes about a year for anybody, athlete or non, to get into the maximum state of fat adaptation, where you can get into ketosis really fast. And that's where I have at right now. On a keto diet, because you're lowering carbohydrates that generally have your minerals in them. I mean, don't get me wrong, fats and proteins do have minerals and some vitamins in them, but you generally get those from plants. Because you're eating way less, you might not get the micronutrients you need, like your B vitamins, C vitamin, vitamin D, resveratrol, things like that. On a keto, then, even though you're eating real food, you still have to supplement, especially potassium. So you have to get your vitamins, you have to get your micronutrients in there, especially sodium. Sodium is the key to not go through the dreaded keto flu. I mean, that's where you just feel like, and that's because your body has, through the ketosis process, gotten rid of all of that excess sodium that you carry. And then your body needs sodium to process and to live. So you have to put sodium in your body to replenish what was lost, especially in that initial state of fat adaptation. Being on a keto diet makes fasting a piece of cake. I mean, if you're busy and on the go all the time, you don't have time to eat, keto is the way to go. I found it to be so easy because I was only eating. When I did keto, and it's what I do now, I did intermittent fasting, the 16-8 plan, even on keto. Do you know how easy that is for me to get up in the morning and not have to eat a big breakfast, do this, do that, and rarely am I hungry at all. And that's a beautiful thing, because if you're working in a desk environment, you're sitting all day, I mean, you get the afternoon brain fog, right? Keto, you're just energetic and you're not hungry. That is a huge benefit of keto. And as I mentioned, the cost of Isagenix, keto is affordable. Why? Because you generally are not eating as much. Man, it's been known from about the 40s, after War II, when we started to spray our fields with pesticides and all that stuff. We have steadily increased our carbohydrate intake, 250 carbs a year. 3,500 calories equals a pound. And you go to 250 calories extra a day, just type that in times 365. If you're not doing any more exercise, you want to know why, weight is gaining in our country? That very reason. People are hungry always, and they're eating carbohydrates. The other thing is there's more and more community about keto. I have a link below to 3 of the pioneers in keto that I highly recommend. Even if you don't go keto, you want to follow these 3 gentlemen. Number 1, Dr. Jason Fung. He's an MD, written several great books. I have a link below to his intensive dietary management blog. You want to follow Dr. Eric Berg and Thomas DeLauer on YouTube. I have links below to their sites. Some of the cons of keto. We live in a carbohydrate culture. Ever since you were born, you've been shoving carbohydrates in your body. We celebrate life with carbs, cake, sweet things, our sugary drinks, high fructose corn syrup. Just go look at your food labels on anything that you buy and look how much high fructose corn syrup's in it. That is the worst sugar on the planet. You want to know why there's an excess weight epidemic? You want to know why heart disease and cancer and diabetes is rampant? Diabetes, 50% of all Americans have either type 2 or prediabetes. 50%. So we live in a carb culture. People around your unit, your tribe, your community, they won't understand. You go out to dinner and you look at that menu and you're limited. You want to stay in that keto state, you're limited. People like it's time to get a piece of cake and you go, no, it's just difficult that way. You have to be aware of that. That's a definite con. Unless you have these, I don't even like using the term cheat days. You don't ever want to cheat because you're cheating on your own health. If you're going to cheat on keto, do it low carb. And there's ways to do that. There's sugary sweet things like stevia, xylitol. There's some other natural sweet things that won't spike insulin and knock you out of ketosis. So we do live in a carb culture. As you start a keto diet, you absolutely, in my opinion, have to count your macros. You have to count how many grams of carbohydrates you put in your body, especially that first month or so, because you are retooling everything you ever knew about eating. And it just takes time and counting and looking and where am I at to be able to follow that plan. As an example, when I started keto, I had been on it maybe a month. I was pricking my finger, looking at my level of ketones in my body, and I traveled to Arizona for some work, and I was in a hotel. So that night, I went out and I ate a whole bunch of wings, chicken wings, thinking that, I can have all this protein because I was sticking to my carb goal. And the next morning I wake up, not in ketosis anymore. I go, what the heck? So I looked at my macros. I figured out how many grams of protein. And if you eat too much protein, this is what I learned. And I only learned it because I counted. The excess amino acids in that protein that can't be broken down and absorbed turns into glucose. It spiked my insulin, threw me out of ketosis. So I had to stick with exactly the right amount of protein in my diet. I didn't know that until I started counting. So that is a con. Now, some people don't count. I'll be the first to tell you that. But I believe you should count in the beginning. Because after a month or so, I quit counting because they just knew. Most people eat kind of the same foods always. I ate the same meals always. I knew what the macro mix was in there. I had counted so much. Excuse me. I knew when I was training hard for an Ironman, if I could put 60 to 70 grams of carbohydrates in me, which was triple what my original 20 grams were net of fiber, and I just knew what 70 was. And as I said before, one of the cons, it just takes about a year to get fully fat adapted. When I say fully fat adapted, that means as soon as you put some carbs in you and you don't eat anymore, even if your blood sugar spike, insulin spikes, and you're not in that really great state of ketosis, if you don't eat for a while, you'll be right back in. Where most people, as they're starting out, they don't, like if they're in ketosis, eat some carbs, spike insulin, get out of ketosis. It may take you a couple of days or weeks. Christmas 2017, the year I had started, I remember I started April 1st, 2017, Christmas. I did Ironman Arizona in November of 2017, roll into Christmas 2017, and I said, during Christmas, I said, screw this, I'm going out of my ketosis diet, keto diet, and I had some pumpkin pies, I mounted it with Cool Whip, the stuff that I love. It took me 2 full weeks to get back into ketosis. I'd heard some experts say if you have 1 teaspoon of sugar, it can pull you out of fat burning for 3 weeks. I mean, I had a ton of sugar with that pumpkin pies and apple pies I was eating. 2 full weeks before I got back into ketosis. So that's a con. As I mentioned, eating out is kind of tough. I will tell you that you have to learn good carbs from bad carbs, low glycemic versus high glycemic, low glycemic load versus high glycemic. You just have to learn what foods to eat. You never had to worry about that before. That can be a con, even though I think it's good to know that. I have seen some pioneers maintain keto for 20, 30 years. Those are the icons. Those are the pioneers. They have just made it a lifestyle, almost like I am at right now. A lot of people that I have helped, a lot of people that I've experienced stay on that keto diet less than a year, and then they go back off of it. There's not a lot of compliance long-term in my mind. I have seen, like I said, that's the rule. There are exceptions to that. I'll be the first to admit. The other thing on a keto diet, you can't get paid. In other words, if you have these great results, somebody says, hey, what are you doing? Oh, I went to this keto diet. And they go, okay, what do I do? And you say, well, here's some stuff, go do it. If you want to get paid to share your results, then you got to go into like a network marketing or an affiliate marketing situation to be able to do that. I hope this helps. I have a link below to a free guide that I put together. It's a small PDF file where I've highlighted all these points that I have made. Also, you can go to my website, and if you send me any question, I'll be absolutely honored to answer that just as quickly as I can. And if you decide to make this change, I would love the opportunity to help you. I know that I can. I am like the best source. Why? Because I've done them both. Full circle. Isagenix, keto, and then a blend of Isagenix, keto, and plant paradox diet, which where I'm at now. And I think because I'm not hungry at night and it's so easy to maintain, I would be glad to help you. You guys take care. See you another day.